to come in. And okay, I'm just gonna end the poll on that. So the majority of people are research phase, pre-planning. Super. Okay, so let me just grab my notes and we will kick off. Okay, guys, so just hit me a yes if you can see my screen okay in terms of the Self-Build Helper logo, please. Just so I know we're all good. Brilliant. So let's kick off. Thanks again for joining us. We get great feedback on this webinar. Doing it for quite some time. Really positive reviews inside the Facebook group. So make sure you have a pen and piece of paper because I'm going to be covering a lot of ground on this. So what's the objective? How to build your forever home without wasting your time and money. Obviously, the big part of that, without wasting your time and money, because there's any amount of opportunity to do that through a self-build. And I want to give you absolute confidence in every single step that you can take in order to save as much time and money as possible. So my goal is to keep you absolutely focused on that you know exactly what needs to happen. So just some rules. Stay engaged, phone silent, close off any tabs on your computer. You know, you're about to take on one of the biggest financial obligations of your life in terms of doing your self-build, your renovation, whatever it is. The time that you put into this evening is going to pay off many, many times over. Get your partner in the webinar. Why is that? Because you want to make sure you're on the same page in terms of the project management from now. And you're going to learn a lot of stuff off this webinar that they may not know if they're not with you. So grab them, get them on it. Take notes, more importantly, take action. I'm here to give you as much value and let's interact as much as possible. And for those who does interact, and just give me yes, no answers, answering questions throughout. What we do is we're going to give you a free decision tracker for those who interact. So you'll receive a free decision tracker. What is that? It's all the decisions that you need to make throughout your self-build, throughout your renovation, so you can plan it months and months ahead in terms of knowing exactly what decision needs to be made where. So if you want that, and if you're up for doing some interaction throughout, give me yes, no answers and whatnot. Just put in an I into the comment box now, just so we can have that registered for you particularly, okay? Super, so lots of I's coming in, which is brilliant. So, who is this for? Self-builder, new build, if that's you, ideally so. If you're doing an extension or renovation, this is perfect one, covering lots of strategies and tactics that's going to help you save as much time, money, hassle, frustration for your extension renovation. We get a lot of architects and engineers that now send their clients to this webinar because it's so informative, because they get so much out of it, and because the architects and engineers are starting to recommend this software, which is Self-Build Helper. So I'm going to be covering a lot of the frustrations, but really what I'm going to be doing is telling you what the software, the Self-Build Helper is, and how it can help you build your self-build, your renovation a lot more effectively. So we have a lot of architects, engineers recommending their clients use it now, which is really good. They're really starting to see the benefit of the software. And then if you're in pre-planning phase and you're just unsure of the steps that you need to take, when you need to take them, how you need to take them, and everything in between, we're going to go through all that, okay? So what are we going to go through? So in the next 45 minutes, how to ensure you get value for money for your self-build from the start to the very finished, how to manage trades to get the most out of them and not be, let's say, somewhat of a victim to them, how you can learn from thousands of other self-builders' mistakes. So rather than you figuring this stuff out for yourself, how can you learn from thousands of other people that have went before you, planning things out to save you time and money from the start rather than the whole thing, well, in hindsight, I changed this, that, and the other. And you hear a lot of people saying that to do your self-build, you'd need to do it 3 times to do it right. And that's not the case at all. The same with the renovations. You just need to have the right training, information put in front of you to make the very most out of the journey and to make sure that you're not learning from your mistakes, you're learning from other people's mistakes. So just a bit about me. My name is Dean Gamble of the degree in construction management. I worked on the tools in construction from 16 to 21. It was really 13 when I started, to be fair. Project manager for 2 years then after college. So I studied obviously construction management, went on to be a project manager, did 2 years in after college as a project manager working for a construction company. I started DG Ventures in 2012. So we launched a self-build group in 2014, which a lot of you are in, Self-Build and Renovations Ireland. Just hit me a yes if you're in that group now and you know what I'm talking about, or no if you are new to the group. Self-Build 3D, we launched that. We do the garden renders. We do the 3D renders of one no after coming in. Tara, you're going to have to get into that group. Karen, you're going to have to get into that group. And we launched ProfitableTradesman.com, which trains and mentors tradesmen in how to run their business more efficiently. So tradesmen are obviously very good at on being on the tools, but not necessarily the best at running the back end of the business. So we train them on that. And we own an app called BuildPro.app, which we sell to builders to let them manage their projects a lot more efficiently and effectively. And so my finger's on the pulse in terms of the self-builds, in terms of the renovations, probably more than anyone else in Ireland. I started that group in 2014. There's just under 160,000 people in it. I have chatted to thousands and thousands of people about their self-builds, about their renovations, that the journey they went on. I've spent an unhealthy amount of time inside that Facebook group, booting out spam people, controlling all the comments inside it. And for a lot of people, it's very much a passing group. The people come into it for a year to get the most out of it, and then they move on once they're outside their self-build or renovations. So it's a bit crazy to think that that's 2014 when we started, to be fair. So this is a project that I'm currently working on at the moment. Just to give you a bit of context of what I'm up to, we acquired this site here, which is right in the center of Mullingar. And what we're doing is you have a shop unit here, commercial. You have a house here, which was built in the early 1900s. And then you have a big 12,000 square foot unit out the back that's connected here into this commercial unit at the front, this house. And what we're doing in here is we're turning this into a self-build and renovation center. So what do I mean by that? Essentially is you're thinking of doing your self-build, you're thinking you're doing a renovation, you're unsure of the steps you need to take, you're unsure of the suppliers you need to speak to. We're putting it all under one roof, that you can walk around, that you can see everything from start to finish, that you can touch everything, that you can feel everything, and that you understand the whole process in one day, rather than traipsing around the whole country trying to understand this and being somewhat lost and getting misdirected and all that good stuff. We're trying to bring it all into one place. So a lot of work at the moment. We've builders in there doing some work getting it all ready. So it's a bit slower than what we anticipated, but main thing is we are getting there. So if you'd like an invite to come down to that, just hit me an invite, right? Invite into the comment box right now, and we will stick you on the invite list. Super, super excited to get that launch. So there's my self-build. When I did it in 2016, wrapped it up in somewhat 2017/18. So during the build, end of the build, and that's my little girl Tessie. So when I was building my home, I did a lot of things right, but I also did a huge amount of things wrong. And unfortunately for me is I learned the hard way, and you get to cheat and learn the easy way. And so what do I mean by that? Even though I have a degree in construction management, even though I've been doing it since I was very, very young, and I was working on the sites, I still made a huge amount of mistakes because I didn't actually go through the self-build process myself. And so you're going through it based on a different perception, a different perspective of anyone else. And it was quite an eye-opening journey for me. And it was actually one of the reasons why I set up the self-build group, just to support people that was going through the journey. I originally started applying for planning permission in 2014, and we got refused on our first two sites that we tried to go for. One, it was local to my home, one, it was local to my wife's home, and we ended up just finding a very nice site between the two, and we're blessed, to be fair, because it was the nicest out of the three of them. So it was just hard to see that at the time. And so what we want to do with this evening is we want to make sure that you get to learn from all that knowledge from me and everyone inside that group, because what we've done is we've condensed a lot of the knowledge, the tips, the tricks, the strategies, the preempting frustrations that I've come across inside the Facebook group since 2014. So what we're going to look like is the old current way of costly self-building, okay, against the new efficient money and time-saving self-build. So let's firstly take a quick step back so you understand the process with this. So imagine if you didn't have to sacrifice every weekend to work on your self-build and could spend that time with your partner or family. Imagine if you didn't have to spend your lunch breaks calling suppliers and chasing down tradesmen. Imagine if you didn't have to waste hundreds of thousands of euros due to delays because of misstep in your self-build, and that you could actually enjoy the whole process from start to finish rather than walking towards it with apprehension. And that tends to be the case for a lot of people, is to walk into the self-build, to walk into the renovation with a certain amount of fear when it comes to starting the process. And for a lot of people is, I need to have some kind of self-build experience, or know someone, be the friend or relative that was involved in the build industry to build a complete self-build. Not true. You just need the processes, the mechanisms in place, a bit of direction to give you the direction that you need to go. Building a home takes years, and even at that, I'll need to sacrifice holidays, time with my family, and time off work to complete a self-build. Again, not true at all. If you have the correct project plan in place, it can be achieved. However, if you approach this haphazardly like a lot of other people, yes, you will fall victim to all this. And I can't afford to build a home in today's climate. It's impossible to build a home and stay within budget. In one sense, it's true. If you approach it like the typical person with some level of ignorance and not really sure of what they're getting themselves into. But for the people who are on this webinar, you'll obviously have the best ability of being able to build it within budget, on time, on schedule, because I'm going to show you exactly how. So what I want to do is build a house this evening. We're going to focus on working through the process in building a house from a self-builder's perspective, in terms of project management, in terms of ways to save money, ways to save on frustration, and looking at every single piece of the puzzle to ensure that you have absolute clarity on how can you have the least amount of stress, the least amount of hassle, save the most amount of money, and save the most amount of time in each step throughout the whole process, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to look at building it, and the average cost to build a home, to builder's finish, between 110 and 170 per square foot. I'm given quite a wide number there, between 110 and 170, because I'm just being very realistic. Anyone that gives exact numbers when it comes to building a house per square foot, in my eyes, I don't really know what they're talking about, because you could build two houses almost identical side by side. It could be the same structurally, but just because they're fitted out differently internally would have the per square foot price completely different. So it's never, ever apples to apples when it comes to self-build. So just be very, very careful who you get your advice off when it comes to the per square foot price. So what I want to do is quickly look at the old, costly, time-consuming way. And this is the way that I would have done my self-builds back in the day. So I went out and I got planning, okay? I started to do the build, unsure of the steps that I was going to take, when I was going to take them, and being able to think 10, 20, 30 steps ahead. I was getting price and materials with no clear idea of budget and value for money. Now, I had some sort of a budget I was working towards. I had it in spreadsheets. My project management skills taught that, but ultimately it was very haphazardly done. I was keeping records of documents in several different places. It was all over the place. I was panic buying materials as trades arrive in site. Get a phone call, lads arriving the following day, the following week, ring around a few suppliers, thinking I'm doing a great job to get quotes, and only in hindsight realizing I was doing a poor job, overlooking poor workmanship, because I wasn't 100% sure in terms of the quality and what I was looking out for, but what I should have been watching for as well, which is very important. Dealing with problems as they arise. So as problems are arising on site, you dealt with them and did whatever you can in order to overcome them. But that's actually the wrong way of doing it. We're making panicked on the spot decisions because we didn't realize you had to make certain decisions in certain stages throughout the build. And because we made panicked on the spot decisions, it cost us down the line in terms of the self-build. Moved it to somewhat of an unfinished home and lose track of snags and fail to have them corrected, okay? So that was my journey. That's the typical journey of every single self-builder that goes into a self-build, that goes into a renovation, that doesn't really know what they're doing. If you've never done a self-build before, you're going to go through this very journey, okay? So just hit me in the chat box if you feel like that's you right now in terms of the old costly, time-consuming way. And so this is the one that normally goes on fire because we're all very much in the same boat with it. Super. And so what I want to do is I want to look at the other side of things is the new, efficient, time-saving way, okay? And so with this, what do we want to do? Okay, so we want to get planning, know exactly the steps you need to take to complete the build. Keep track and have a clear idea of your budget, know exactly where you can save on labor and materials. And obviously that's very important there, is know exactly where you can save on labor and materials from the very start rather than looking at it in hindsight. Access all your important information and documents in one location rather than running around having them all over the place. Be fully prepared for trades arriving on site weeks and months ahead rather than days or a week. Keep a record of any issues that might arise and occur on site as they happen. Okay, so there's a log kept of absolutely everything in one central place. Be prepared for any issues before they happen. Okay, and this is good project management skills where you're able to preempt and have good foresight to look ahead and identify problems before they become issues with limited skill. Know what decisions need to be made in advance. Budget for your home to be fully finished before you move in, including all your furniture, fixtures, and fittings, and ensure all snags are completed at the end, okay? So you have two different journeys. You have the left and the right in terms of which one you're going to go on as a self-builder. So for you right now, which makes more sense for you? The left, type in left or L if that's you, or R if the right side makes more sense for you. Just throw that into the chat box so we see where everyone's head is at. And so, yeah, the obvious one is R. It's the right side. And for the vast majority of people, though, they're going to go down the left, okay? The vast majority of people are going to go down the left because they just don't know what we're doing. And look, that was me. That's the majority of people on this call. And what I'm going to do on this call is I'm going to keep you focused on what way you need to do things in order to go down the right side of things, okay? So I'm going to dig a bit deeper into all these issues here. I'm going to go through them and I'm going to show you how you can solve them, how you can use technology, artificial intelligence, project planning tools in order to solve that and show you how you can access all that. So we're going to go a bit deeper into each one of these points. So our first one, planning your project the old way. And for a lot of people is you go through your entire build process not having a clue what's coming next and hoping you haven't missed any vital steps. And when we looked at this inside the self-build group, we found it was actually a huge issue among people. So between the setbacks, lining trades up, and the time it takes it actually to achieve it, people just didn't know what they're walking themselves into, didn't know the steps, didn't know how things to be carried out, didn't know what needed to happen when. And because of that, it cost them in time, it cost them in money, and it obviously was quite frustrating and worrying for them as well. And so when we identified that as being an issue, we said, okay, how can we use technology in order to solve this for people? And so what we did was we built out the software. This is the starter journey of Self-Build Helper here, okay? And essentially is we come up with this plan. And the new way is the project planner. And so what is that? Use the project planner feature with a built-in typical construction schedule to keep your self-build on track. Make adjustments to suit your build schedule. Keep track of what needs to be done next. Take the stress out of the build by ensuring you're always one step ahead. So how does it work, okay? You log into the software, you pick the type of build that you're doing, whether it's construction schedule, block build, 2-story, story and a half, bungalow, ICF, or timber frame. You put in what type of build you're doing. You tell it the size of the house, the number of ops, all that good stuff. And what does that do? It spits you out the entire project management list of every single task that you need to do in order to build that house. Every single task in order for you to build that house. So you will never, ever get to the point and say, well, what do I do next? Because you just log into the app, you log into the software, and it's going to tell you exactly what step you need to do next. And as you do them, you can tick the box to say that it's done. So it keeps you very focused. It keeps your partner very focused if you have one that's helping you with the self-build. And it means that you're always progressing forward and never standing still wondering, what do I do next? It's a case of just looking at the software, looking at the email, and it's going to tell you exactly what to do next. Does that make sense, Evan, just how you can use that to plan out your entire project? Okay, super. So lots of yeses coming in. So our next big one then is bill of materials. And firstly, when it comes to bill of materials, is a lot of people don't even know what a bill of materials is because they've never had to get them before and they've never had to read or come across it. For a lot of people is to understand somewhat bill of quantities is, but bill of materials is different. So who here genuinely knows exactly what a bill of materials is? So hit me a yes or no in the chat box. Yes if you know what it is, no if you don't know. So all knows so far, not a clue. Dinah's no, Keita's no, David is no, Karen is no, Michelle is no, Tim is no. Have I any yeses yet? No, I've no yeses yet. We've one person on the call, it's a yes. No. Okay, so I'm not surprised. Normally it's very, very small in terms of the people who knows what a bill of materials is. So essentially what a bill of materials is a shopping list, and it's a shopping list of every single screw, bolt, window, hinge, skirting, door, everything that you need in order to build a house. Everything, the length, the quantity, the spec of it, absolutely everything. So there's no questions in your head what you need in order to build a house. And for a lot of people, the vast majority in Ireland, like 99% of people do not get these because they're actually very difficult to get. They're more so in the UK, and that's why you hear nobody talking about them. So that's the big thing here. What's the bill of materials? The first thing is you don't get them. The second thing where people start getting some sort of an idea is you get your trades to tell you before they arrive. So when the guy's doing the groundwork, he'll tell you, roughly how many square meters of concrete to get. The guy that's doing the blocks, he'll tell you how many bales of blocks to get. The guy that's doing the roof, he'll tell you the cutting list for the roof, for the slates, for the tiles. The plaster will tell you how many bags of cement, how many loads of sand. They give you an idea of the approximate what you need to get, and you go off and get. And that's the way the vast majority of people do it. Some people might get a QS, produce a bill of quantities, but that doesn't give you the full bill of materials off it. And just to give you some context of this and what is it and how you actually use it, this major survey reveals which supermarket is the cheapest, okay? So the sample grocery basket, which was randomly selected, was found to cost on average 65 in Aldi, 65 in Lidl, 76 in Tesco, 80 in Dunnes, and 95 in SuperValu. So you can see that there's a huge difference between what you buy in Aldi and what you buy in SuperValu for the exact same or almost the exact same items that goes on your kitchen table every week, like stuff that's very much commodity in terms of food. So it's the exact same when it comes to bill of materials, okay? So what do I mean by that? So what we've done here is I've given you an example. And we did this here in terms of we've the bill of materials for this house here, which is 287 square meters. We've all the items that's needed is along here. We've the quantity here, the accuracy of our measurement, the unit cost in option 1, option 2, and option 3. Okay, and so you can see down here that option 1 it costs 141,000, option 2 135,000, option 3 134,000. So there's not a huge difference in terms of the cost between option 1, 2, and 3. One for 141,000 there, 135,000 there, and 134,000 there. Okay. However, the difference with this is if you were to buy the best value for money item out of each one of them places, you will save a total of €49,000 by knowing exactly where to buy the most cost effective item. And this is very much called value engineering. Another thing that you hear very, very few people actually talking about, value engineering. It's known what do you use where for the most value for money inside your construction project. And so that there is your cost increase in terms of materials from COVID over the last 2 years. That has you that back to pre-COVID prices because you now have a list and a way to save the most amount of money possible from your bill of materials. And essentially, no different than if you're buying, I know, meat and bread and milk and butter and all that good stuff, and you go around to different shopping centers and you buy the cheapest one in each one of them. Yes, that's a huge amount of work and a lot of people wouldn't do it, but when it comes to bill of materials, it's very worth doing. But the thing is, you cannot do this throughout the self-build. You have to do it to start. Why is that? I'm going to explain that in a bit more detail, okay? But firstly, just let me know. Hit me a yes if that makes sense to everyone and is a bit of an eye-opener. Hit me a yes in the chat box if that makes sense to everyone. And is that a bit of an eye-opener in terms of using this to help you save as much money as possible? Okay, super. So based off that, what are the most important cost-saving emails you send before a project starts? Okay, what's the most important cost-saving emails you send before a project starts? Anyone hazard a guesses? What's the most important emails you send before a project starts? And this is very, very few people actually know about this and do this. So Megan is quotes, plans out to merchants. Anything else? Where are the most cost saving emails you send before a project starts? You can send plans to merchants, but they won't give you back much of because essentially there's no quantities on it, Sharon. Essentially what you need to do is the bill of materials needs to go out to 3 main places. Your quarry for your ready mix, for your block and any sand and gravel, for your window company, and then for your hardware. Them 3, if you send it out to them 3 different companies, you will save a huge amount of money. But the trick is it has to be done at the start and it has to be done with a bill of materials. You cannot do it in any other way. So why is that? You do not have bulk buy discount throughout your self-build, only before the build starts. So what do I mean by that? If you think you can do your build, and while you're doing your build, you ring around for the best prices, although based off where you're standing at the moment, you think that's the right way of doing it. Yes, you will get some form of a discount, but the biggest discount is when you negotiate at the start based off all the materials you're going to buy throughout your self-build. And you, as a typical self-builder, use a typical renovator, you cannot forecast all the materials you need because you just don't know what the materials you need. So what you do is you get the bill of materials, you get the list for the window company, you get the list for the hardware company, and you get the list for the merchants, and you send that out to them, and you get all the quotes in advance. And then what you do is they're going to look at the end of the quote, and they're going to understand all the materials that you're going to buy off them throughout the course of the build, and that's when you get a bigger discount. However, if you try buy it by the load or buy it by the material, you don't get that bulk buy discount at the very end, which is that's the big discount there, when you could say, I'm going to spend 30 grand with you throughout the course of a build, and then you can get an extra 10% discount on that again. For the hardware, they look at all the materials you're going to buy off them, and then it'll give you an overall discount on that again. So it's called a bulk buy discount. Nobody talks about it, but that's let's say in the trade, for the professionals that do this, that's how they make and save a huge amount of money. Does that make sense, Evelyn, just how you can do that and use a bill of materials? Okay, super. So in order to solve that for people, what did we do in order to use the software for using and building a bill of materials? So you log in, And what you do is you input the type of build you're doing, whether it's a block build, whether it's a timber frame, whatever it is, the amount of bedrooms you're doing, ground floor area, first floor area, number of openings, very simple stuff that anyone can do based off their plans. If you have an attic, if it's a garage. And what that do is that spits out the quantity, the unit of every single piece of material that you're going to need throughout the whole self-build. You then download it and then you send it on to the 3 different suppliers, and that's going to help you save, depending on the size of your build, anything from 20 to 50,000 based off the materials. Some very, very small step that's going to allow you to save so much money. Does that make sense to everyone, just how you can use that to save the most amount of money as possible? Okay, super. And so what's the true cost of no bill of materials? The true cost of no bill of materials. So because we can see inside the software of the people who use it, and then I can talk to people who don't use it and I can see the prices they're doing when I go through the spreadsheets. The cost of not using a bill of materials and getting the best prices at the start and using a bulk buy discount is anything from 10 to 20 euro per square foot, okay? Is 10 to 20 euro per square foot, depending on the level of detail. So if you have a house, let's say, I'm going to whip out my calculator, the average self-built house in Ireland, we know this because we do on self-build 3D, is actually 2,400 square foot. And let's just say, we go the lower end and you don't get it. You're going to, of 2,400, we'll divide that by 10, it's obviously 24,000 euros. So you're anything between that and 48,000 euro of a saving. So that's just a good indication. If you whip out your iPhone, your calculator now and say, okay, what's the cost implication of me not using a bill of materials? Is what's it going to cost me in extra money, and money that I'm just not aware of because it's something I've not done before. So throw in your cost implication that you're going to have into the chat box now, based off roughly, if you're say 10 euro per square foot, what's that going to cost you by not using a bill of materials? And just to get a sense, so 22,000, 28,000, 30,000. Okay, super. 35. 28, 26, 25. And I'm guessing that everyone's going the lower end here of just saying 10 euro per square foot, 24,000, 25,600, 20,000. So can everyone see the value, 22,000, the lower end? Can you see the value of making sure you have a bill of materials and making sure that you're going out before the project starts? It's very, very important this is done before the project starts. If you do it throughout, yes, you save a small bit of money, but it's not near as effective as doing it before it starts. And that's where the trick is with this. Does that make sense to everyone, just how you can use that? Okay, super. So your next big one when it comes to your self-build, and this is just something that a lot of people don't talk about enough. How do you think a self-build will affect you personally and emotionally? How do you think a self-build will affect you personally and emotionally? So just throw in a few comments in the chat box of how you feel a self-build will affect you personally and emotionally. In the journey that you're about to go through, how do you think that's going to affect you? Issues in the relationship, arguing, draining, lots of stress. Kieran's life gets busier. Karen is time consuming. Ivan is stress. Sharon is draining. We are just starting and we have had more rows about a heating system than I could ever imagine. Exactly. There's a huge amount of fighting, of bickering, of, as Stephanie just said, chaos. And it does lead to, like, realistically, it led to lots of arguments in my relationship. Because you're on a different page and because you've both different perspectives, you both have different opinions. So Gary divorced and having to sell the house. But you know what? It's these things are inevitable in terms of the fights, the arguing, the bickering, the chaos, the stress, all that good stuff. And so when we looked at that, we said, how could we avoid that? How could we make this as simple and as straightforward as possible in order to make the process a bit cleaner? So poor communication between you and your partner results in confusion, vital steps or calls are overlooked daily. It's a huge issue. And how do you build a project worth anything up to $500,000 and to make sure you're both on the same page? So there's a term when it comes to project management. It's called same page meeting. And essentially what a same page meeting is, where you sit down and you make sure you're both on the same page in regards to where you are, where I am, and are we moving forward in the same direction to ensure that we're never pulling apart. So same page meeting, very, very important when it comes to project management. And what we looked at was to see, how could we do that in the software? How could we provide a same page meeting so both people that were doing the build, or if the person was doing it with someone else, are very clear about what they were doing, what you were doing, and all the decisions that need to be made to really reduce the likelihood of any bickering, any fighting, any chaos, any stress. How is that done? You log into the software and you add your partner. You can add a partner into your account. Always ensure your partner is up to speed with any changes or issues that may arise throughout the build. You can assign specific reminders to one another. Okay, and within the reminders, your reminders are displayed on your home screen to ensure they're never overlooked. Add as many as you like and tick once complete. Keep track of what needs to be done next. Completed reminders are archived to keep track of what's done. So you're never going to ask, what are you doing and what am I doing? You log into the app and it's very clear what you're doing, what I'm doing, and just moving things forward in a positive fashion. You'll never get to the point and asking, oh, what do we do here? Or how do we do this? Because the project planner is going to do it. You're never going to get to the case of, are we in budget or outside of budget, or who's looking after that, because the software is actually going to do it. Because it really erodes all that away to make sure we're doing everything we can to keep all the communication inside the app, inside the software, to make it as simple as possible. Which brings me on to the next point. Managing your budget, okay? And the old ways, you fail to keep track of your budget, costs spiral out of control, and you can't afford to complete your home. And for a lot of people, when it comes to this, is you've used your iPhone, you might have a Google spreadsheet, you might have Excel on your computer, you have a notepad, you have a piece of paper, you've just stuff all over the place in terms of trying to manage your budget and what you're actually working towards. And we surveyed people inside the group. We found it was a huge issue in terms of overspent compared to what you had budgeted for. You can see there was 88.9% of people, 51.9% of people knowing how much the home will cost, and 54.4% of people not being able to finish at home due to budget issues. And so when we looked at that, it's like, how can we use a software in order to solve that, to make sure that they have budget from the start, that they can easily track it and they can see it wherever they go. So they're always very, very clear of it. And so we come up with this concept of the budget manager. So the new way is keep a record of your entire bill's budget all in one place. Manage your budget anytime, anywhere. Record and edit payments and transactions. Keep track of your overall bill spend and keep track of any outstanding payments. So how does it work? As you make a payment, you log in, you can input who you're after paying, when you're after paying them, how you're after paying them, whether it's cash, whether it's check, whether it's bank transfer, and it'll help you track it. The other side, what you can do then is the cost estimation. What the cost estimation do is you log in, you say our budget is 200,000, and that's going to spit out a budget for you based off percentages, industry averages for percentages based off the different areas. So based off the budget for your stairs, for your finishes, for your plastering, for your block, all them different areas, so you know what you're budgeting towards in terms of the build. So rather than you feeling you can't keep within budget now, you now have a budget, you now have a way to track it where you can both view it. It's just a case of both of you inputting the data in it and being able to stay on the same page in order to move forward. Does that make sense, Evan, just how you can use that to keep things nice and clear and simple in terms of moving the project forward? And hopefully for you, Gary, it doesn't land you in a divorce territory. So Ruth, yes. Sharon's yes. Ivan's yes. Sandra is a yes. Super. Okay. So Rona's great help. David, why? Gary's why? So our next one then is file management. You spend hours scrolling through your phone, searching through emails, looking in files and folders, trying to locate important documentation and information such as plans and quotes. And file management is a huge issue with people when it comes to this. You have bits on your iPhone, you have bits on an Instagram account, you have bits on Pinterest, you have an email account shared between both of you, you have documents buried and magazines buried in your under your seat of your car, in the boot from any of the shows that you go to. You've invoices all over the place, you've dockets all over the place, you've receipts all over the place, and it just turns into a administration nightmare in terms of the file management with everything. And these are all documents that are super, super, super important for the current moment in time in terms of the self-build, but more importantly, the future, especially the invoices, receipts, your warranties, your insurances, all that good stuff. So what did we do to try and solve that? We come up with the file manager. So the new way is keep all those important files in one place. Keep a digital record of important files such as invoices, warranties, quotes, and construction drawings. Organize files in our default folder or create your own, okay? So when you log in here, you can see there's a folder for accounting, for quotes, for miscellaneous, for insurance, for warranty, and for interior and finishes. So we have default folders of everything where you need to be saving. So as you see you're out in site and let's say the concrete man lands up, it gives you a docket. Rather than you putting a docket in your pocket to remind you where to put it, you take a picture of your phone and it says in the app. If you're out and about and you see something you like, you take a picture, you save it in that folder. The architect sends you the drawings, you save that inside the app, and now you can send a link to everyone rather than having to download a document that seems to take forever because the file is so big, upload to an email and send it on. You can just give everyone the link. For any invoices, take pictures of them. So you have a digital record and footprint of absolutely everything that's going on with your self-build, all in pretty much your pocket, one central place and on the software. Does that make sense, Evan, just how you can use that to make information management very, very easy and efficient when it comes to your project? Okay, super. Ruta sounds good. Nikki's yes. Tara's yes. Keith is yes. Okay, brilliant. So our next one is communicate with trades always. You go to every effort to ensure your trades are lined up only for them to be the good old no-show, okay? And this happens to us all. It was obviously an issue I had seen back in the day, and it's these guys are getting more and more busier now than ever before. You know, let's say the last 2 years when COVID and all that good stuff. And for a lot of people is you're just chasing them, trying to get them back and making sure that they remember the date of when they agreed to start your project. And so when we seen that this is obviously a huge issue with people, said, okay, how can we use technology to help them solve this for your typical self-builder? So we come up with this feature called Chase a Trade, okay? And essentially this tool allows clear communication between you and your tradesman. Send an email confirming the tradesman's start date and any other requirements, but you and the tradesman will receive alerts as the start date draws closer. Avoid delays and time wasting because of poor communication, okay? So you input their email, you input their name, the service type to do, and their target date to start, and that's going to send them a reminder emails. And that reminder emails, as part of that, is going to ask them, like, do you need me to order any materials? Do you need any other trades? And are there any specific decisions that you need me to make before you arrive on site? So this is pushing to have them 3 questions asked months in advance, rather than them landing or rocking up to the site the week before, the day before, giving you a call, saying they need X material, saying they need you to make a decision on X, Y, and Z, you getting a bit panicked about it and making a poor decision because it wasn't something that you expect to make so early in the game. You're now able to do it in weeks and months in advance to make life as easy and as simple for you as possible. And so really what this is going to do then is coming closer to the date, it emails you reminders, it emails the tradesman a reminder as well, just so you're getting that top of mind awareness in terms of the actual start date for the project. But more importantly, your tradesman is, and it's going to start prompting him to obviously give a response to say he's going to be there on time, on that date, it's making sure that you're on top of the pecking order in terms of the priority, and he's not forgetting about you. Does that make sense, Evan? Just how you can use that going forward? Okay, super. So Rona's gets rid of confusion. Absolutely. So is this solve for something that you can see yourself using throughout your self-build just to make life a bit easier for you in terms of the whole process, the budgets? Okay, definitely. So Ruth's definitely. Tim is yes. Ivan's definitely. Michelle is really helpful. Nikki's defo. And so far, what's the number one thing that you feel like is the biggest benefit to you? What's the biggest benefit that you feel is most beneficial to you based off your frustration right now? The bulk buy, the organization, everything, organization, the bill of materials, the steps broken down, managing budget, being very organized, project plan, knowing what comes next, the layout of steps. Sharon is bill of materials. David has seen the overall process flow. Ruth is bill of materials. Rona's bulk buy, bill of materials, bulk buy. Tim is bulk buy, budget organization. Super. Okay. So yeah, I'm going to cover a few more areas that's going to help you guys a lot more. So stay with me, okay? So your next big one is educating yourself. You learn from your mistakes and get lots of conflicting advice. And you're going to different shows, you're chatting to different people, and you just get so much information. You start to become overwhelmed with like, what do I do? What steps do I need to take? And you start to almost stall in the process and running around in circles in knowing what to do, when to do it, what to choose, how to choose it, all that good stuff. And so what we did is to try and make that a bit easier for you is we created one central area inside the course. Number one, you have a full project management course to show you how to actually project manage it. So if you're a bit apprehension about the project management, that is going to help you do it. And number two, the other side is it's one thing to build a house. It's another thing to turn a house into a home. And so one of the people that works on our team is called Fiona, an amazing interior designer. She has an interior design course inside it. Loads of videos, loads of documents, loads of checklists on how to turn the house into a home, and all the interior design elements you need to start thinking from the very start rather than when the room is done, in order to use the most of the light, of the finishes, of the materials, of the heights, of the feel of everything, and how it makes a huge impact on the overall feel and the overall comfort of the home when you start to move in. And it's important that you understand them to how to make the most of them. So you have the project management course, you have the interior design, just to make life super easy for you, and to have one central place to make the house a home. Okay, so your next big one then is sourcing suppliers and trades. And as always, you struggle to source value from money, trades and suppliers in your local area. And for a lot of people is they're looking around on Google, they're trying to ring people, they're trying to get who's the local qualified trades that's going to do a good job when it comes to your build. And for a lot of people is they're just after trying to get to top quality tradesmen, but sometimes that comes at a price, and everyone kind of understands that. And one of the things is, you see this inside the group of the self-build group, is understanding trade rates. If you pay peanuts, you get monkeys. We offer 3 kinds of service: good, cheap and fast, but you can only pick 2. Good and cheap won't be fast. Fast and good won't be cheap, and cheap and fast won't be good. Okay, so if you pay peanuts, you get monkeys. Agree or disagree? Hit me in the chat box. What's people's thoughts on that? If you pay peanuts, you get monkeys. So Sharon is agree, Britta's agree, Dinah's agree, Nikki's agree, Tim is agree, Alan's agree, David's normally true, Tara's agree, Ivan is fully agree, Michelle is agree. Okay, so I want to give you some context on this, just so you really understand this and how like society is made us form an opinion. And it's no difference than what I told you earlier on about bill of materials, that you didn't know what it was. Now, where a lot of people agree with me in terms of if you pay peanuts, you get monkeys. And I just want to go into this in a bit deeper, okay? So, understanding trade rates. Example, plastering a house. I'm just going to go through the example here of quotes and the circumstances of that quote, okay? So let me highlight this. And what we're going to look at is the price and the circumstance of the price of the person given the price. So the first one is 20 grand. What's the circumstance of the person given the price? Father, young family, mortgage, lives in Dublin, drives a new van, 20% profit on all jobs, they're VAT registered. So they're 20 grand. Quote 2, 18 grand. Father, young family, mortgage, new van, lives in, not Dublin, the Midlands, okay? They live in the Midlands, drives new van, 20% profit on all jobs, the VAT registered. Difference of 2 grand there between the 20 to 18. Why is that? Because they live in the Midlands. They're not paying the Dublin salaries to their staff. Small bit cheaper, okay? 2 grand. Quote 3, 15 grand. Father, young family, mortgage, new van, lives in the Midlands, drives new van, not putting 20% profit on all his jobs. A lot more common than a lot of people would think. A lot of people think tradesmen are, rip-offs, making an absolute fortune. I can tell you from my experience, the vast majority of them don't, okay? The vast majority of them, underpriced jobs, they don't put in any profit of it. A lot of these guys are just quite happy to make a decent salary. This guy is VAT registered. So you can see there the difference between 18 and 15 there is 3 grand. And this guy down here, quote 4, this is the monkey, okay? Pay peanuts, you get monkeys. Father, kids growing up and left home, mortgage paid off, old van that owes him nothing. He's not into buying a new van because he just doesn't care what people think about him. Lives in the Midlands, happy to get a local's week's wages because he just does not want to be commuting. He's not VAT registered because he stays below the 37,500 VAT threshold. The reality is, how does he do this? He splits his jobs through the books and cash. And that's just the reality. That's the way society is, okay? So what is the difference from that from start to finish? 8,000 of a difference on one trade. Now, I'm not saying this is practical in all cases, so this is my disclaimer, but your awareness of this is very crucial. And when you really get into the game, you do start to see how certain trades are a lot more cheaper than others. And I actually spoke to one guy today, for example, and it's a good example. And this guy has a builder at the moment, and the builder comes in, he charges him a flat hourly rate, and he comes in with 2 guys, and he shows up, he shows them what work they're doing every day. He works by the day, and he doesn't do prices because he's a habit of underpricing jobs and getting screwed and whatnot. And this particular builder, and he's just an old guy, and he just wants to get his week's wages. Wants to look after the 2 guys who's working for him. He just charges an hourly rate. And he writes everything down on what he's doing, so the person doesn't feel he's trying to pull the wool over his eyes. And he always comes out a lot cheaper than everyone else. And that's why this particular guy always uses them, okay? And so this is very much the awareness that you need to know in order to say, it's not always about going the most expensive. It's about knowing the circumstances around the person and to see what is he after. Is he just after the local job with no commuting, and he just wants a week's salary, and he's not hungry to making a huge amount of profit? Does that make sense, Evan, and just that and the concept around it and how it's important when it comes to getting your prices and understanding it? Is this a bit of an eye-opener? So just type in I, just so I know, EYE, so I know that this is a bit of an eye-opener for you guys. Okay, super. Okay, brilliant. So our next one, I'm going to go a bit deeper in this again. Okay, so understanding trade rates, and I've spoken about trade rates there, but now I want to speak about let's say your hardware rates and understanding that and going a bit deeper in this. And I'm going to give you an example that I know quite well for one particular area. Okay, so when it comes to your prices, your typical punter, i.e. all you guys in the webinar, you're going to be going out and you're going to be paying retail rate, okay? You're not going to be getting a trade rate. You're not going to be getting a wholesale distribution rate, and you're not going to be getting a manufacturing rate, or are you? Okay. And this is the trick. So for a lot of people I'm going to give an example for, let's say, bathroomware. And for a lot of people that they'll go and they'll buy their bathrooms, they'll go to, let's say, the hardware, and you're going to pay your retail rate. Okay. And so what the hardware do is they're going to have, let's say, a trade rate, if any of the local trades buy off them. Then there's going to be a wholesale distribution rate, and then there's going to be a manufacturing rate. So let's say each one of these put about 30% on it. 30%, I'm just saying that as a round number, 30% and 30%. Okay, so that's a lot of 30% that builds up over time. However, the way this industry works is you have a lot of, I would say, hardwares in Ireland. And what the hardwares actually do is the hardwares buy off a wholesaler / distributor in Ireland. Why do they do that? Is because they have the footfall. The hardwares have the footfall. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to sell more products. But what they don't want to be doing is they don't want to be stocking tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of euro worth of products, because they just can't afford to carry such a huge variety of stock. And so what they do is they'll have display items of bathrooms. They'll buy off the wholesaler distributor in the country that holds it. So if you buy a bathroom off certain suppliers and they'll say, I'll have it for you in a week, I'll have it for you in 2 weeks, or whatever it is, I'm getting the stock in. They're buying off the local distributor in that country. The wholesaler distributor obviously buys off the manufacturer. Okay. However, where you want to be buying your goods, and let's say going back to our bathroom example, let's just change the color here to green. You want to be buying off, I would say, a bathroom company. I'm just going to say BATH, if you can make this out, bathroom, that holds their own stock. So why do you want to be buying off a bathroom company that holds their own stock? Because they have a retail rate. However, they have a cheaper trade rate as well, because they buy direct off the manufacturer. And how do you know if they're buying direct off manufacturer? If they are on a big site, if they have a big warehouse and they have all the stock out the back, that means the bulk buy off the manufacturer. Like I was saying, you bulk buy for you guys at the start of your bill to get the best discount. They get bulk buy discounts based off the volume / quantity that they buy off the manufacturer. The more they buy, the bigger the discount to get. They want to avoid the wholesaler / distributor, because you don't necessarily bulk buy, but that comes at a price. Okay, the price is you pay more, but it's the convenience of you don't have to hold the stock. So what does that mean to you? Do your very best and do your homework to only buy off companies that carry their own stock. Do not be going to people who don't carry their own stock because they're buying off a distributor down the road. And even like another slightly unrelated example of that is, I know a wholesaler that sells tires, and this wholesaler is in Mullingar, for example. And no one in Mullingar can beat this guy's price in tires. Now, not everyone knows this. However, all the other tire companies do rock up to his warehouse, at the warehouse next door, and they buy all the tires off him because he's the local wholesaler. They can't beat him in price. He can't. There's a waste of time going to them to start to try and barter him down. If you go to the main man, that's when you get the biggest discounts, but it's known where you can actually get them discounts and who you need to speak to. Okay. Does that make sense to everyone, just how you can use that and to be very aware of it in terms of who you go after? Just hit me a yes in the chat box if that makes sense to everyone. Okay, super. So how do you actually use that? So what we've done inside the supplier directory Easily find suppliers and trades that serve your location. Search suppliers and trades by name and location. Save hours of searching online. Suppliers and trades that serve your location. So we have 20,000 suppliers in there. Now, 20,000 suppliers is a huge amount of suppliers, a huge amount of suppliers to cover in all of the Republic and Northern Ireland. So you have a huge selection. However, where is the value for you guys? What is it that you really want to know in terms of getting the value? I've put in the list of I know where the best value for money window company is, bathroom company, houseware, flooring company, where I know based off my experience that you're going to get the biggest discount. So not only can you get the bulk buy discounts because you have the bill of materials, but I'm also going to tell you who to actually go after because I know who all these companies are as it stands. So you don't have to go out and figure this out for yourself. You log in, you look at all the suppliers I recommend, you get prices off them, and I'd be 95% sure you won't get better prices than the suppliers I recommend. There's one bathroom guy I recommend. No one can match him. He brings everything in direct. I know him personally. I know he can't be beaten. Anyone I've ever sent him the people to saves him huge money. The same with the window company I recommend. Cannot be beaten in price. In terms of the same with the timber supplier in there, cannot be beaten in price. No one understands how he's able to use it. And so what I've done is I've put all them names. There's only about, I'd say, 15 names inside the software of these different suppliers. As I come across them and as I use them and as I've gotten prices off them and I send people to them, and I know that they're saving thousands in comparison to anyone else, I put them in there so you guys can get access to it as well. So rather than you thinking, who do I need to go to get to the best price? You're leaning on my years and years worth of experience to go in, get the suppliers, get the prices off them, and save tens of thousands of euro throughout your self build. Okay. Does that make sense, Evan, in how you can use that? So Root, who is he? Give us the names, lol. So Root, to be fair, I can't. It took me years to find all these. It's something we put inside the software to any of our clients that signs up for it. I'm sure you can respect in that because it cost me a huge amount of money in order to put that together in time and effort. Okay. So does that make sense, Evan, just how you can use that to your leverage and to save you a lot of time, money, hassle, frustration to get the best value for money quotes possible? Okay, super. So our next big one then is documenting what happens. And the old way is you fail to document important stages of the build and no record of bad workmanship or layouts are kept as they occur on site. And for a lot of people is you create the Instagram account and you take all these lovely photos with the sunrise and the sun setting, the nice summer's day of the site. But what you forget about is the really, really ugly photos that's more important that you get for all the issues that you're going to run into down the line. So what do I mean by that? For a lot of people is they don't understand the level of photos they need to get to protect themselves down the line. And that's why we create a site diary. Essentially what the site diary is, keep a log of site visits. Every time you land on site, you start taking pictures of everything that's going on, especially anything that's going to be covered up. Bad workmanship is highlighted and traced. Keep a visual record of layouts such as underfloor heating, electrics, waste pipes, etc. And each build stage can be documented here and reviewed months and years down the line. So how does that work? Let me get my pen here. Okay, so we've the underfloor heating. We want to be taking pictures of that, the layout of that, the route it's taken, because if and when there's a blockage in years to come, you know how far it is from the island, how far it is from the skirting, the routes it's after taking, the spiral effect it's taken. And it just means it's a lot easier for you to, if you need to can go out a section that there's a pinch or anything like that, and it can be easily fixed. You can see here, so the chase in the walls, okay? And this is just one example. You can see the chase coming up on the right, and then it comes out here on the left, and you can see a junction box here. However, you would presume, because this junction, or this socket is here, it comes straight up, you would presume that chase goes straight up there. And if you were to put in a shelf, a hanger, a picture, you could drill in there and you could hit that, okay? Same with this here. You can see you have these socket boxes here to go up, and for some strange reason, to bolt off at 45 degrees up here and then back up at straight into this. Now, you would presume they go straight up, but for some reason they don't. But at least you have photo to look back on to say, okay, I better not drill there. I know exactly the route that these are all taken. Same with any of your petitions, your mechanical ventilation. So what route is it taken? How far is it from the wall? How far is it from the door? If there's a loose bracket, if there's a vibrating noise, that there's a too tight of a bend, that you're not going around making loads of holes to try and find a pipe, that you'll be able to get a very, very good idea first time around to find it. Same if you need to put in any sockets and you have wires running along here. The same with your drainage that you're doing outside. Before you cover up your drainage, you have a photo of all the sewerage, know exactly the routes it's taken, rough sort of measurements and layouts for any pipes. So when they get covered over, you know exactly where they are. So at some point, not if, when you have issues with these down the line, you can just whip open the app on your phone, the software, log in, see exactly what the routes is, see exactly what was the way it was being done, and to help you solve it as quick as possible. Does that make sense to just how you can use that for years and years down the line in terms of going back over all your pictures? Okay, super. And so our next big one then is make a decision. So the old way is you become overwhelmed with the amount of decisions that need to be made, which leads to poor, hasty decision making, which you regret down the line. And for a lot of people is they don't understand the sheer amount of decisions that needs to be made throughout the whole build process. And we ran a survey on it, and it was one of the biggest issues that people had in a particular stage of the build. So having to decide there and then of the steps. So what do we do to try and preempt this? We create a decision tracker. Decision tracker is a full list of decisions, 100 plus, that need to be made throughout the cell build, can be found here. Ensure that you're always prepared, nothing's overlooked, and allocate decisions. So we went back through all the questions, comments that people ask from 2014 until about 2021. And we put all the major ones in there. Then there was me and 7 other people, and we wrote down all the questions that we had to make through our self-build. We collected them all together, and we put them all into the software, and then we broke it down into planning, interior design, structural, concrete, lighting, plumbing, heating, everything. So rather than you not knowing the questions that's going to arise in your weeks and months ahead, and for a tradesman to arrive on site and start asking you these and you being somewhat stumped by them, you can sit down, you can have a cup of tea and go through them on the laptop some evening in the comfort of your own home, rather than being somewhat stressed and anxious about them, not knowing what's coming. Now you know exactly what's ahead of you, and you can answer it months and weeks in advance in your own time, rather than being cornered, let's say, by a tradesman looking for a quick answer for an issue that he's having. Okay, and this was actually when I was building this app out initially, this was the #1 issue that my wife had, that she said stressed her out so much throughout the build, that she used to hate when I would call her and saying X, Y, and Z is on site. They want a decision made about X, Y, and Z. And she's like, she'd be freaking out saying to me, you never told me I had to make this decision now. I didn't know I had to make this decision. I need to think about this. And I'd be saying, well, you can't think about it. You're going to have to make decisions because the guys are there and they need to know. And it always caused a lot of bickering and arguing in terms of me putting pressure on her to make a decision, she not realizing she had to make the decision, then the tradesman being on site, me wanting to keep them on site and keep them moving forward. And this is just a way to alleviate that and to allow you to plan your decisions way in advance, that doesn't become an issue for anyone. Does that make sense to everyone? Just how you can use that? Just send me a yes in the chat box if that makes sense. And so is this making sense to everyone so far? And it's bringing the whole project together in terms of, you know, what it is, how you can use all these different features inside the software to make life a bit easier. Okay, super. So Nikki's a yes, Gary's a yes, Ivan's a yes, Dinah, Alan, Sharon, super. So our next big one then is interior finish. And always, you have no idea of the sheer amount of interior design elements that need to be factored into making your house a home. By the time you do, realize the money is well and truly spent. And we all know someone that has moved into a somewhat vacant home, that the piers are not finished outside, that the house isn't fully plastered. Even if you were to think now, the chances are, and hit me a yes in the comment box if that's you, that you know a house within 2 kilometers of you that was built 2, 3, 4 years ago, but it still looks like a building site. Throw me a yes. We always get a few yeses coming in on this one. You do not want to be that yes. You do not want to be that person, okay? Because it's just demoralizing to think you got that far into your build and now you're driving into a construction site for years and years to come after. You want to be able to have your interior and your exterior finished as part of the build. So Sharon is yes, several, Ruth is yes, Ivan is yes. So what's the new way? With the design tracker, manage and track the budget of your appliances, furniture, and fittings here. If you see something you like, make a note of it and all its build details here. Use a flooring calculator and track your flooring finishes. Ensure you can afford those finishing touches and there's no unexpected costs. So you literally have a design tracker of every single item that you need to buy and that you can budget from at the very start, rather than trying to scrimp and save at the end, or trying to get out loans off the credit union, or remortgaging the house in a few years. It just becomes a lot more difficult for you and for the family, especially when you start, a lot of the people that obviously building tend to have young kids, and it just puts you under so much pressure and trying to get things done, and you end up just losing your will with it and almost going blind to it. We want to avoid that. We want to get it right from the start. We want to have everything budgeted from the very start, so there's no surprises whatsoever, and you can just move into the house you always wanted, rather than scrimping and saving for years after it. Okay, so our next one, keeping on top of snags. Always, you fail to keep on top of snags that need to be completed, and for a lot of people is you're chasing around tradesmen, trying to get them back in order to finish the different snags that they had left on site, and it just becomes an issue. So what did we do to solve this? Is on a snag list, as snags pop up throughout the build, keep a record of them here. Assign snags to specific people to be completed. Complete snags are archived to keep track of what's to be done. How does it work? You take a picture of the snag, you tag the tradesman, and that sends him a bi-weekly reminder. So it's emailing him and nagging him so you don't have to, okay? So it means that you don't feel that you're annoying him, that you need to be texting him, that you need to SMSing him. This is going to do it for you. This is going to do the email in terms of getting them back to fix any issues that they left on site, okay? And now for the last big feature that kind of brings this all together, and this is the one that I'm super, super proud of. We just made a huge new update on this recently that need to actually update this presentation with exactly what it is. So contractor, project manager, QS, or self-build, pen and paper, notes and phone reminders. Project management. So how are you going to manage a project overall? It's either you're going to use contractor, project manager, rarely it's a QS, or you're the typical self-builder, pen, paper, notes, and phone reminders. And so what we did with this is project management overall. For an example, 2,400 square foot house, let's just say it's 120 per square foot, just so you understand the cost implications of each of these. If you get a contractor in, contractors put between 12 and 15% profit and a project management wage on the job. So what do I mean by that? Further, let's say a house that's 2,400 square foot house, your average house at 120 per square foot, they will have a profit of 37,500, and they'll have a project management wage of 5%, which is 14,400, which is 51,900. Okay, 51,900. Our next one then is project manager. Sorry, I clicked the button ahead of myself there. Is let's say they're 6%. 17,280. That's going to be their project management wage. It's actually very rare that you get project managers in Ireland now. Any of them that are worth their salt, they're all contractors because they know they can make that 12 to 15%. None of them do this at all anymore. Quantity surveyor, bill of quantities, 3 and 5 site visits. You're talking $2,000 plus minimum for that. And so what we asked ourselves the question was, how can we do the job of a contractor? How could we do the job of a project manager? How could we do the job of a quantity surveyor? How could we bring it all together to do the job of these using technology, okay? And this is what the guys come up with, AI project management overall. So this is AI, artificial intelligence. The more people who use it, the smarter it gets. This means you learn from the mistakes from previous self-builders rather than from yourself. So how does it work? Every evening at 9 p.m., you get an email. And the email comes from Self-Build Helper. And that email will tell you exactly what's inside your software in the sense of, are you on budget or off budget? What's the next steps you need to take in order to build a house? What's the next decisions you need to make in order to build a house? What outstanding snags is there? What are you working on and what is your partner working on? It's a summary of every single step that I've mentioned this evening, and it gives you your next 3 steps that you need to be working towards. So you're never going to get to the point and say, well, what do we need to do next or when do we need to do it by? The email is going to tell you every night. So you're either going to read it at night or you're going to wake up in the morning and you're going to look at first thing in the morning, and it's going to tell you exactly what to do next, exactly what to do that day in order to start moving the project forward, okay? The best thing about this, and this is what really brings it all together, is this software, the more people who uses it, the smarter it gets. So currently there's about 600 people just going through and using this software, 600 people. That means you are getting to leverage off the 600 people that have gone before you. The more people that use it, the smarter it gets. How does that work? Anyone that puts in tips or tricks on ways to save money, anyone who updates a project plan, anyone who updates the interior finishes, the budgets, the different decision trackers, once people are updating it, when we see it becoming a recurring team, the software notifies us and the software keeps getting updated. The more people who use it, the smarter it gets. Since we launched this a year ago, the amount of like amazing ideas, the amazing information that people have put in there that we never thought of, some of the stuff that we've missed over the years, different build types, new things have come along, have been absolutely amazing. It just really makes that whole project an awful lot easier. So that whole concept of it takes 3 self-builds to build your perfect self-build. Well, now you know you've had 500, 600, 700 self-builds that have went before you, that have used the software to bring it all together and to make it as easy as possible to you in terms of doing a self-build. Does that make sense, Evan, and just how you can use that to make life an awful lot easier? And is it something that you guys can see yourself using throughout the self-build in terms of the software, the app, with you and your partner in terms of all the strategies and tactics? Ruth's a definitely, Sharon's a yes. Okay, brilliant. Tara's definitely, David is a yes, Michelle is yes. And so what do you think is the cost implications of not using it? If you don't use it, between your direct costs in terms of your money that you can't or will possibly use, your time and your stress, what do you think is the cost implications of not using something like this? Just hit me a message in the chat box based off what you feel, based off what we've already discussed. So Ivan says massive. So a bit harder with the one words. Sharon is quite a lot. Rona's delays. And so, yeah, there's obviously quite a lot because you have 500 self-builds, you have years and years of experience gone into it. Nick is tens of thousands. Everyone has a slightly different perspective of the value of this based off the perception that you have of it, based off where you are at in your self-build and the journey that you're going to and about to embark on in terms of using this, okay? So do people want to give me, will I give you some information of Self-Build Helper, exactly what it is, where you can get it, how much it is, and all that good stuff? Just send me a yes in the chat box if you want me to go through all that information. Okay, super. So what I want to do is quickly recap. And the reason why I want to recap is just so we can quickly bring it back in so you understand what was our goal when we were designing the software and why we decided to do certain things in it. So the main focus was how to save time, money, error, and stress. That's what we were trying to go on after in terms of very low, low, moderate, high, and very high for each one of these items. And we looked at the biggest issues and we come up with technology in order to solve that. So let's quickly go through it and we'll wrap it up. So Project Planner, what does that do? The software feature, the time saved, the money saved, the error, and the stress. Project Planner, 100 tasks, going to save you 12 hours. Money saved, we didn't put in a hard cost number because it's questionable. Least amount of error, least amount of stress. Reminders and add partners. It's going to save you 6 hours. Money saved, questionable. Least amount of error, least amount of stress. Budget management, bill of materials. Move into 100% finished house. Help you save between 30 and 40,000. A lot of you guys said earlier on you're about 25,000, and this has been on the low end at 10 euro per square foot. An awful lot of you would be back up near the 40, I'd say. Least amount of error and least amount of stress. File manager, so 6 hours. Least amount of error and least amount of stress. That's 6 hours going to help you save. Chase a trade, 35 tasks, 15 minutes, 8 hours. Least amount of error and least amount of stress. Supplier directory. So that says 7,000 suppliers. There's actually 20,000 suppliers in there now. 80 quotes, 15 minutes quote, because 1,000 suppliers. Help me save at between 20 and 50,000. A lot of that is down to the trade rates. A lot of that is down to knowing where you go to get the best prices for certain materials. Least amount of error and least amount of stress. Site diary, least amount of error and least amount of stress. Decision tracker, 100, that says 70, but obviously it's updated to 100 now. Least amount of for decisions, had me say about 6 hours. The big thing with that, I would say, especially I would say for my wife, least amount of stress for her, which obviously was a huge part. The design tracker, making sure that you're moving into a 100% finished house, showing you all the ways that you can save now between 10 and 40,000. And then your last one that brings it all together, your AI project manager. So your cost saving on that, your money save is either 2, 16 or 50 grand, depending on what route you're going. Contractor being obviously help you save 50 grand, least amount of error and least amount of stress. The big thing with this though is, imagine waking up every morning, or looking at it every night and just knowing exactly what you need to do next. You've no apprehension, no anxiety. Everything's just moving it forward in a very positive manner. So you save approximately 58 hours of management, between 10 and 100,000 in money, depending on how much and effectively you actually use it, and have the least amount of error and least amount of stress. And this will help you take 2 months off your typical cell bill. So what's the price? We have 3 prices based off the different areas. We have a package for 1,200, 900, and 600. So 1,297, 897, and 597. Okay, and we've a fee of 35 a month after. So for the trade rates, that will at very minimum, if all you did was use a trade rate, I would say it'll help you minimum save 10 times what this is here. The same with bill of materials. Although I have thousands and 30,000 down here, if all you did was use the bill of materials, it'll help you save 10 times the 1,297. Same with the trade rate suppliers. For example, the Batcham company or the Window company, to easily help you save 5 to 10 times that. Okay. So what we do for these webinars, and just because we get a lot of people on them and we don't have to do one-on-one selling, we do a slight price discount on this, okay? So rather than it being the 1,297, the 897, the 697, we price discounted to 297, 597, and 997. We do not have a monthly fee. So although it says the monthly fee, that's only if you buy outside of this webinar. So everyone gets a webinar only price because you're all here, you've all got a demo on it, you all understand the value of it now. And it just means that we're doing this en masse rather than having to do this on a one-on-one basis that I have to pay my staff, okay? So you get all the features in the Pro 997, standard is 597, and the basic is 297. There is no monthly cost then thereafter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the sheet and I'm going to give you access to it and drop it in the comment box. So everyone has access to it. So just hit me a yes if you got that link okay, and I'm going to go through a bit more detail on this. So it's a webinar only price. This is not something that you'll be getting outside of this webinar. If you go onto our website, you will be paying full price for it, okay? So what we do is guarantee is use the app in full. If it does not save you minimum 10 grand, we'll give you full refund. We've absolute confidence it'll save you 10 grand. We can see it in the back end, so we know once you use it, the refund, it's not going to happen because we can see you saving that level of money in it, okay? So some feedback that we've gotten off it so far. And this is just some screenshots I took off my messengers. Yeah, finding it really good. There was only one small issue at the start, but Fiona sorted it. We'd be lost without a project planner. The way it lays everything out is very good. Delighted to hear that. Do you think it'll save you much money so far? To save us a lot of time, more so than money. We are at our early stages. Defo has helped us avoid a lot of mistakes. Open my eyes to a lot of areas I was blind to. I can see it's saving us a lot of money when we're further into the build. So a second person, lol, that's great. So you are finding it useful. So I do chat to some people over and back on Facebook Messenger. We were on the fence initially about getting it, but so happy we got it now. I showed it to my brother-in-law, and he is after buying it too. With so much uncertainty out there now, it's nice to have this to fall back on. Fiona has been great. Help with any questions. Yeah, Fiona, super. Give me a shout if any questions. Talk in the future. Fiona works in support. She's an interior designer. She works with people in terms of helping them use it. It's great, Dean. Really helpful. Great. What features have you got the most out of? Bill of materials has saved us thousands. I can see why now. See now why it's so important. Project Planner has made things a lot easier for us. I think at different stages, different parts of the app gets more use value. Decision Tracker was an eye-opener. So many decisions. Feeling a lot more confident about everything after using it. Okay, so if you have any questions, please drop them into the chat box now and I will answer them. What I'm going to quickly do is just to show people, because just to make sure everyone's clear on the sheet. I'm just going to quickly open it up here. So in order to buy it, and just so anyone is clear, again, it's a webinar only price. The webinar only price closes at 8 o'clock tomorrow. Okay, 8 o'clock tomorrow is so we give it 24 hours for people to make up their mind on it. In order for you to buy the different packages, just click the buy now. So click on the buy now for whichever one you want. It'll bring you to this page here. You fill out your details and that'll redirect you to a form. You fill out your form and then you'll then get access to the software, okay? So the big thing with this is, for a lot of people, for the most value for money, and for the vast majority of people, the 997 is where you're going to save the most amount of money. That's where you have the trade rates. So we've 10, probably around 15 suppliers there. I know with the window supplier, had you say about 10 grand. I know with the bathroom supplier, depending on how many bathrooms and level of tiles you have, you're talking between 5 and 10 grand there. Your bill of materials overall, you've seen the amount of money that's going to help you save. So your typical person, a lot of you guys on the lower end of scale, a lot of you guys said you're about 25 grand. I'm not even going to get into a lot of these smaller things. These are all super important. You've seen all these and the amount of hassle and stress that to take away, let's say the decision tracker, supplier crest, your budget manager, make sure you're coming in on budget. All these are super, super important, but for just to focus in on one or two key areas, the big money, like the tens of thousands, not the hundreds, the tens of thousands is where it's going to help you save the big money here. So how long do you have access to the app once you, if you don't want to? So it's anyone who buys this, it's lifetime access. So anyone who buys on this, it's lifetime access. You're never going to be hit with a monthly fee for it. So what Ruth asked was, how long do you have access to the app once you pay? E.g., if we don't start for approximately 5 months, yeah, so it's lifetime. So what an awful lot of people do with this that are in the pre-planning phase, that they're just about to start, not starting for a few months, is to buy it and to just start planning things out, to start getting the bill of materials, to start getting the prices. the sooner that you do that, the more money you will save. Like realistically, the sooner you start using this and you start pricing around, especially when it comes to international buy-in, and that's something I didn't go into a lot of here. So there's 3 different stages of pricing. Okay, this is really important. You've localized pricing, you've national pricing, you've international pricing. Where you save the most money is international in most cases, and not all cases, but in most. Localized pricing is you buy off your local hardware, getting so prices. When you go national and you open up the market to the national market, you tend to get more bang for buck when you start buying national. However, you do need a lot more time for that planning, okay? You need a bit more time. Obviously, we direct you a lot inside the software. Where the most money can be saved is when you start doing international buyer. I give you the suppliers inside the software, who to use, who to contact that can help you save an awful lot of money with it. So the sooner you use it, the sooner you use the trade rates, the bill of materials, the sooner you'll start saving the money, and you just start bringing that cost down as soon as possible for the build, okay? So guys, let me know if you have any other questions in regards to software. So I'm actually just so Sharon, it's Northern Ireland and Republic for in terms of suppliers and everything. There's no difference. So the big thing is, how much will the Windows supplier? So I'll give an example. We got a quote of 28,000 for Windows recently for a project we're doing, and we're getting them brought in done for 12,000. When that's not including the install now. The 28,000 was including the install, so it's going to end up costing us about 15 grand, which is what's that? 13 grand of a saving. So the bill of materials. So sorry, what's the average saving on bill of materials? When you use the bill of materials effectively, put down your minimums. What we discussed earlier on, Dave, is it's €10 per square foot. So €10 per square foot is the minimum it's going to help you save. So whatever size your house is at, multiply that by 10 per square foot, and that's the minimum amount. Your big thing though with that is, the sooner you do that in terms of the bill, the more money that you're going to save. So ideally, all these is done either just before you start, the months lead in terms of the price, and in terms of getting the best prices, that's in the best discounts. And it has to be bulk buy discounts. It has to be bulk buy discounts. So I don't have an example bill of materials on me at the moment, Thomas. Maybe it's something I can do in future webinars. But if you want, Thomas, if you email in and the guys can show you, and just obviously pull off all the data and typical materials and stuff like that. But it's quite basic, to be fair, because it doesn't need to be, all it is pretty much you're downloading the spreadsheet off it to send to the suppliers. So, Ruth, yeah, you can, we do these webinars once or twice a month. So Sharon, is there support for the software? Yes, there's support in the bottom right-hand screen. It's actually very much in your face, a support button. So any questions you have, we're normally back to within 12 hours, less than 12 hours. So Karen, yes, I will be emailing out a link. I would advise to just clicking that link and open up on your phone or on the computer or something, just so you can click on it and get it yourself. So yeah, I will email the link after this. So Paul just asked the VAT between 13.5% and 22%. I'm curious why you're asking that, Paul, because it's not going to make a huge difference to, if any difference to you. You have to pay it regardless. So just 13.5% tends to be materials, 23% is more so a service. Just to give you the quick description of it, 23% is of service more so than materials. Okay, guys, has anyone else any questions? I just see some people are coming in and making payments. So Claire, thanks for your confidence. Raymond, Elaine, Sinead, Geraldine, Colum, Fiona, Maureen, Katie, Aoife. Guys, thanks very much for your confidence. So when you fill that out, what happens is you have to fill out a form, and that comes into us. We'll set up the app then tomorrow, and you'll be getting access then over the coming, let's say 2 to 3 days. So Paul, I was quote concrete for 13.5% and roof trusses. So when there's a mix of labor and materials, once it goes beyond 1 point, there's in terms of the amount of labor and materials, only one of the VAT numbers can be used, or sorry, one of the VAT rates can be used. It's very tricky area, Paul, to be honest, because a lot of trades actually get it wrong. I know there's a huge issues years ago with kitchen fitters in terms of their VAT rates, because they provide a product, but they do a lot of service as well. So sometimes the kitchen guy is 22%, and sometimes he's 13.5%. It all depends on the quantity of the materials and the materials versus the labor. If that makes sense. So guys, let me know if you have any other questions in regards to the app. So you'll be given this sheet here. Access goes at about 9 or 10 tomorrow, that you won't be able to get access to it. So this is just a discounted price that you guys will be getting for this. But definitely for this, like for some people, to be fair, to just coming in or getting our trade suppliers, others are the bill of materials. Obviously, lots of others are using the full amount of it, but there's a huge amount of time has gone into this in terms of all the different features and tools that you guys can use. Okay, guys, if we don't have any other questions, I am going to wrap it up for the evening. Thanks very much for your time and attention. If anyone else has any other questions, you can fire me back an email, and we can take it from there. For anyone that I missed your comments this evening, I know I missed some of you. It's very, very hard for me to keep on top of it in this software. It just disappears into the feed. I'll try get back to anyone I missed over the coming days. I always go back over and see who did I not get to reply to, and I'll send you an email. So just before we wrap it up, what was your number one key takeaway from this webinar? And just so I can get some context of what everyone, their number one valuable takeaway. Just throw me in the chat box. What was your number one? And to make sure that you get that decision tracker in terms of the interaction that we send out in the next 2 to 3 days. So Mairead, for her, it was the bulk buy discount. For Dana, it was plan and budget before starting. For Patrick, it's getting them trade prices. For Michelle, it's bill of materials. Rona is doing bill of materials, pricing before you start. Karen is window and bathroom savings. Sharon Lucas is time saving and bill of materials. Ivan is bill of materials. Tara is the bulk buy discount. Super. Root is bill of materials and bulk discount. And that tends to be like the biggest Noel, planning well in advance. Cannot recommend it enough. Noel, super, super important. So it's great to hear just the different context of everyone and of what to make for it. So guys, just to give me an indication, just hit me a yes for people that are going to buy through the link tomorrow. Just hit me a yes in the chat box. Just so we have some idea of who's coming in tomorrow. So Sharon's a yes. Ruth's a yes. Paul's a yes. Super, because there's lots of guys coming in here at the moment as well, which is great. It'll be closed up. It's around 8 or 9 tomorrow night, depending on what time we started this at. Or sorry, to what time the document is taken at. Paul's a yes. Rona's more than likely. Can be used for a renovation. Absolutely, Rona. Patrick is on the fence, undecided. So Patrick, if you have any questions that you want me to answer, shout here and happy to go through it. Super. Okay, guys. Again, thanks very much for your time. Really good webinar. Thanks for everyone's engagement and feedback throughout. Makes these webinars a small bit easier to do when I'm home in an office here looking into 2 screens. I hope you enjoyed it. Your feedback has been really good and positive. It's obviously always good for the team to see this as well. So thanks again. And I wish you all the very best in your projects. For those who have bought already, you'll be getting an email off Fiona over to come in 2 days with access to the app. For those who buy tomorrow, please ensure that you buy by 8 or 9 tomorrow, whatever that, let's say 8 o'clock. Please ensure that you're in before that, just to lock in them prices. Even let's say you're not 100% on the package, just you buy the 297 and you can lock in the 597 and the 997 prices. So it allows you to upgrade to them future prices. What that allows you to do, you can upgrade to them other prices in the future. So if you're not sure on the 597, the 997, buy the 2997, and that means you can go in, you can get a feel for that, and then you can upgrade it to the wrap then in the future, the 597 and 997 when you wish to. Okay, super guys, thanks very much, and I wish you all a super evening, and we'll catch you all very soon. Cheers, thanks, bye bye.